Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our What to Expect webinar. My name is Layi-Ojo. I'm the Director of Examinations at CFP Board. I am delighted to be your host for today's session. Also presenting with me today is Amanda Zapata, our Senior Manager, Marketing Acquisitions, James Taylor, our Manager of Examinations, and Jenna Wyly, our Examinations Specialist. Eric Nepomuceno, our Senior Manager of Examinations, will answer questions posted in the Q&A box throughout the session. Whether you are considering taking the CFP exam or you've already embarked on your journey towards certification, you are in the right place. During this presentation, we'll cover what awaits you on exam day. We'll talk through your exam day experience before, during, and after testing. Before we dive into the details, let's take a look at what's on the agenda for today's webinar. First, we'll provide you with an overview of the CFP exam. Next, we'll dive into the details of your exam appointment so you know exactly what you'll be facing on exam day. Following that, we'll share some valuable tips and strategies to help you prepare effectively for the CFP exam. We do understand that preparing for such a rigorous examination can be challenging, and we're here to provide you with the tools you need to succeed. Then we'll provide you with information on additional resources, including study materials, practice exams, and support networks that can be immensely valuable during your CFP exam journey. In the later part of our webinar, we'll address frequently asked questions about the CFP exam. We encourage you to participate in the Q&A session, where you can ask any questions you may have, and we will do our very best to provide you with clear and insightful answers. So let's get started. The CFP exam is available in an 8-day window. The November 2024 exam will be administered between November 6 and November 13, 2024. The CFP exam is available in test centers nationwide and remotely. For further information on remote proctoring, check the remote proctoring page on the CFP Board website. You still have time to register before the early deadline for an exam registration price of $825. Don't forget to have your coursework verified by the education verification deadline on October 17. The CFP Certification Examination assesses your ability to integrate and apply a broad base of financial planning knowledge in the context of real-life financial planning situations. The exam content requires the use of critical thinking and problem-solving, with less emphasis on factual recall or recognition. Exam questions are written by volunteer subject matter experts based on the outcome of a practice analysis of personal financial planning. The analysis defines the principal knowledge domains that serve as a blueprint for developing the content of the exam. Each of the 170 exam questions that you will answer are linked to at least one of the principal knowledge topics. The approximate percentage of content coverage on the exam is indicated following the general headings shown on the slide. The CFP exam is a computer-based exam consisting of 170 multiple choice questions administered during the course of 2 3-hour sessions. Your appointment duration is 7 hours with 6 hours of testing time. You will be able to move through the exam at your own pace within each 3-hour test section. 3 hours are provided for the first 85 questions, and another 3 hours are provided for the last 85 questions. Each section is subdivided into 2 subsections. Candidates may take an optional unscheduled break after question 43 of the first subsection. You will also be able to take a 40-minute break in between sections, as well as any unscheduled breaks as needed. You will answer 3 different question types: standalone questions, short scenario questions, and case study questions. Standalone questions are typically 2 to 3 sentences long, with 4 answer options to select from. Scenario-based questions are associated with multiple exam questions, typically 3 questions per scenario. You will see the scenario on the left side of the screen with 1 question at a time shown on the right side of the screen. Case study questions are like scenario-based questions, but longer, with the case study scenario covering several pages and typically 8 to 12 questions per case study. Next, James will cover exam day tips. Over to you, James.
Thank you, Ivy. Several days before your exam appointment, be sure to review the directions to your test center and practice the route you will take to the location. We also recommend reaching out to your test center to check for any additional requirements, such as mask requirements. Be sure to arrive 30 minutes before your scheduled appointment. This will provide ample time for the check-in procedures. Also, review and become familiar with Prometric emergency and rescheduling policies. You can find this information on the inside cover of your exam candidate handbook. Make sure you know what to expect if your appointment is canceled. If something unexpected happens, such as your accommodations are not present, your name does not match, or you are not allowed to test with your calculator before, during, or after your exam that impacts your ability to test, please call CFP Board immediately. Do not begin your exam. Instead, contact CFP Board and remain at the test center. If you have a remote appointment and experience technical difficulties for an extended period of time, please contact CFP Board. Additionally, please do not schedule any trips or vacations immediately after your scheduled appointment. If your appointment is canceled, you will need to be available during a limited window for rescheduling. Now, let's discuss what to expect on exam day. Starting with what to bring to the exam. You'll need to bring a government-issued ID and 1 or more financial calculators. Your ID must be one of the approved types of identification, which include a valid driver's license, a valid government-issued ID card, a valid passport, or a U.S. military ID card. The photo ID must also contain your signature. We encourage you to review your ID ahead of time to confirm that it has not expired. Be sure the name on your ID directly matches the name you used to register for your exam. Your first and last name should match what is listed within your CFP Board account. Remember to check your ID prior to exam day. If there is an inconsistency with the name on your identification and the name you registered for the CFP exam with, please contact CFP Board before your exam. Bring 1 or more battery-powered, non-programmable, dedicated financial function calculators. While testing is in session, you are prohibited from accessing electronic devices other than an acceptable calculator. You will be able to store other electronic devices in your locker, but will not be able to access them while testing is in session. Any food, drinks other than water, or review notes that you bring to the test center will not be allowed in the exam room. You may store them in your locker and can only access them during your scheduled 40-minute break. Calculators containing visible formulas must be covered. You will not be allowed to bring the calculator into the testing room if formulas are visible on the reverse side of the calculator. You may cover up formulas with black electrical tape or by taping blank paper over the formulas. A link to the calculator policy is listed in the reference section at the end of this webinar. Now, Jenna will review the check-in process.
Thank you, James. During the check-in process, the test center administrators will review your ID, visually check glasses if you wear them, ask you to sign in, assign you a locker, capture your photo, do a brief body scan, review your calculator, and show you to your seat. For the body scan, you will be asked to show arms and ankles, as well as empty your pockets from the agreed safe distance area. You will have access to your locker during your scheduled break. You will not have access to your locker while you are testing. Prometric will provide you with scratch paper and pencils. The test center administrator will review your calculator and ask you to clear any stored memory. Please review the CFP board calculator policy for a list of approved calculators. Also, be sure to review the functions for clearing your calculator memory and become proficient in restoring your preferred calculator settings. For example, know how to set begin and end functions for time value of money calculations. No other materials are allowed at your workstation during the exam. The tax tables and formulas will be made available to you as an on-screen resource while taking the exam. Printed copies will not be allowed in the testing room. Other prohibited items include food, notes of any kind, electronic devices except for the approved calculator, and personal headphones. Prometric permits water in a clear bottle with a lid or cap in the testing room. After you check in, the test center administrator will show you to your assigned workstation. Noise-canceling headphones will be available upon request from the test center administrator. Any notes that you take will be collected and are not permitted to leave the exam room. Security of the exam is vital and protected by active proctoring and monitoring of video camera surveillance. The digital video recordings are retained until after exam results are official. Before the exam, you will be asked to accept the CFP Certification Exam Pledge Agreement, making a commitment to behave ethically before, during, and after the exam. Please familiarize yourself with the agreement provided to exam candidates before the start of the exam session. Failure to accept the agreement will disqualify the candidate from taking the exam, forfeiting the exam fee. During the exam, candidates are permitted to take unscheduled breaks to use the restroom or get a drink of water. Please be aware that during unscheduled breaks, no additional time is provided. You may not access your locker. You will also be subject to another check-in process upon your return. To request a break, raise your hand so the test center administrator comes to your workstation to properly check you out of the exam. Halfway through your appointment, there is a scheduled 40-minute break. The exam will begin automatically after the 40-minute break time expires. Please be sure to return to your seat before time expires. To end your break, the system will give you 2 pop-ups to ensure you are ready to end your break. If you skip your break, stop testing and contact CFP Board immediately. At the end of each section, you will encounter the End of Section screen. The end of each section provides an opportunity for you to take an unscheduled break between sections. Remember, the timer will not stop during unscheduled breaks. If you do not need a break, you can click the Next button to continue to the next section. You will encounter 2 confirmation messages when you end each section. If you have not answered all of the questions in the section, the message will inform you of this. Once you finish the section, you will not be able to return to this part of the exam to review questions. Be sure to review questions marked for review before proceeding to the next section. If additional time remains after all exam questions have been answered, you may review your work from Section 2B only. You may submit your exam for scoring before your final 3 hours have expired. Before submitting, you will be asked, "Are you sure you want to submit your exam for scoring?" Once you click yes, your exam session is ended and you cannot return to view your exam. You will answer a short survey and then your preliminary results will be displayed. You will also receive an email from Prometric with a copy of your preliminary results. When you are done, you will exit the testing room and report to the test center administrator. At that point, you can retrieve your personal belongings from your locker and return your locker key. A timer is available in the top center of your exam screen. The timer shows both the remaining time in the section and the total time remaining on the exam. Note how you can toggle between the options by clicking on the timer. Having the correct amount of time showing on your screen will allow you to properly pace yourself and ensure you answer all the questions in the specific section you are in. If you select the option for total time remaining, please note that this includes the 3 minutes allocated for the survey at the end. Section 2 will end when there are 3 minutes remaining. The CFP Certification Exam is a pass or fail exam. Each test question counts for 1 point. Passing is based on the candidate's total score across all sections of the exam. Preliminary results are provided to you immediately after taking the exam. Official results are provided to candidates by email approximately 4 weeks following the close of the testing window. Candidates who pass the exam will receive a congratulatory email with instructions for completing the certification process. If you do not pass, you'll receive a diagnostic report of your exam performance across the principal knowledge domains, with indications of your relative strengths and weaknesses, so that you know where to focus your studies for the next time you take the exam. Red areas had weaker performance, while green areas had stronger performance. CFP Board does not disclose official exam results over the phone, by text, or by fax. You can become familiar with the exam software features by taking CFP Board's free sample exam, available at cfp.net/sampleexam. The sample exam includes a tutorial of how to use the testing software, as well as 10 sample questions. You may take the sample exam as many times as you like. Now, Amanda will cover preparing for the exam.
Thank you, Jenna. CFP Board has 2 170-question practice exams that you can use to help you prepare for the CFP exam. The practice exams mirror the format and content coverage of the CFP exam, providing a replica of what you will see on exam day. This is a mock exam that will boost your confidence on exam day. Be sure to set aside 7 hours to complete the practice exam. This includes your 40-minute scheduled break. Upon completion, you'll receive a diagnostic result report showing your performance in each principal knowledge domain, which you can use to address knowledge gaps as you continue studying. The first practice exam is complimentary with your exam registration and can be accessed in your online account. CFP Board has also put together a couple of additional resources to help as you prepare for the exam that are available for download on our website. The exam handbook is a quick reference tool for exam-related questions in one convenient location. It addresses topics covered in this webinar and provides additional information on registration, scheduling, exam preparation, and what to expect on exam day. The page also contains the guidance and regulatory change documents, including the updated Secure 2.0 Act provisions. And don't forget about the mentor program, which is designed to help as you prepare for the exam by connecting with a CFP professional. Mentors can help you focus on time management, study strategy, staying motivated, dealing with work-life balance, and more. The deadline to request a mentor is September 23rd. For more information, visit cfp.net/mentor. And if you have any additional questions about preparing for the CFP exam, you can reach out to our team of candidate advocates at getcertified2024@cfpboard.org, and they are more than happy to assist you. We also have our online candidate forum where you can connect with other candidates and obtain useful tips and guidance in preparation for the exam. We encourage you to join online conversations or read through posts and testimonials on how others prepared for the exam. You may even find groups of people to virtually study with. All you need is your CFP Board account to access this online forum. You can log in at candidateforum.cfp.net. If you are retaking the CFP exam, congratulations on keeping up your momentum toward this exciting milestone. We encourage you to use CFP Board's exam prep resources to help you reach your potential. CFP Board staff, mentors, and other candidates are here to support you on your journey to CFP certification. I know I just mentioned the candidate forum, but your peers are also available to support you. The candidate forum has a lot of great discussions and stories from others on the path to taking the exam and discussing how they stay motivated for another attempt and what they changed in their study plan. I encourage you to take a real look at what you are doing to study and align that with what you know about going into exam day. You may need to change things up, and that's okay. Please feel free to review these documents mentioned throughout the webinar. These are important resources for exam candidates. The webinar will be available on our website within a week, so you can also access these references at that point, and we'll also send out an email to everyone registered with the link to the webinar.
Thank you, everyone. This concludes the first portion of our presentation. We'll take a brief moment to pause right now to review any pending questions in the Q&A box, and then we'll provide answers to those. Thank you.
Okay, Eric, we have some good questions here. The first question, Eric, do we need to bring pencil or pens for scratch paper, or are they provided at the test center?
So candidates do not need to bring in a pencil or pen or scratch paper. Those are all provided by Prometric at the test center.
A question about the practice exam. So I completed the first practice exam and saw that there are 2 other practice exams available for purchase. It looks like we can purchase practice exam 1 or 2. Is there any difference between these 2, or are they the same as the free practice exam?
So there is a difference. So the practice exam 1 is the same as the free practice exam, but practice exam 2 is a completely different form. So you'll encounter different content on practice exam 2. But so if you're going to purchase another one on top of the free practice exam, please purchase form 2 and not form 1.
Perfect. It looks like there might be a couple questions about how preliminary results are delivered. Eric, can you provide a little bit more information about what a candidate would expect on how they will receive their see their preliminary results?
Sure. So at the end of your exam, you'll encounter a survey, a brief survey from CFP board. Once you complete your survey, your preliminary result will flash on the screen for a brief moment, and you'll also receive an email confirmation of your preliminary result within 10 to 15 minutes of completing your exam.
Perfect. And so will candidates get any sort of printout before leaving the test center?
No, there will be no printouts.
Can you talk more about how official results are delivered? So you get your preliminary result after completion of the exam on exam day, and that's the preliminary result. Can you talk a little bit more about the waiting period to get the official result, what that typically looks like, and how someone receives that?
Sure. Well, first let me pile on with the preliminary results. There's also a results portal where you can confirm your results. So once you receive that email of your preliminary results, there'll be information there where you can go to the results portal, and you'll be able to verify and print out the results from there. All you need is your confirmation number. The final results are going to come in about 4 to 5 weeks after the close of the exam window. This is done because CFP Board and Prometric conduct a series of quality assurance checks to validate the outcome of the exam. Once those checks are performed, we're able to finalize the results of the exam and release them. So again, that's going to be between 4 to 5 weeks at the end of the closing of the window.
Perfect. And then candidates will see their CFP board account updated and be able to move forward, in whatever direction needed.
Yes, that's correct. Thanks for clarifying. The candidates will receive an email result for the final result, and your CFP board account will also update once the results are released. Now, there's a large number of results that go out, but everyone's record should be updated by 11 a.m. the following day after the release starts. So there's a lot of confusion about that. The results go out overnight during an overnight window, and then they should all be out across the country by 11 a.m. the next day. And you'll also see the update in your CFP board account. There'll be instructions for the next steps you can take, either completing your ethics requirement or completing payment. So once those results go out, you'll be able to take the next steps.
Perfect. Thank you. I think that's very helpful. One question here that I will take is, when is the best time to sign up for the mentor program? So if someone's taking the exam in March, when should one sign up for this? You'll actually just want to wait. So you could sign up now if you really wanted to, but the mentor cycles are aligned with each exam cycle. So right now we're really enrolling people for mentors related to studying for the November exam. So there will be another cohort and open enrollment that opens up at the end of this year for the March exam. And so you'll receive, see notifications and see our website update with all of that.
So Amanda, there's another question here that's popping up significantly in the Q&A, and that's the question of if CFP board is going to test the old T+1 or the T+2 rule. Well, the November exam is going to be testing the new rule. So that you could take that with you. It will be testing the new rule.
Thanks, Eric. I think that's a good question. I did see that a couple of times here. Can you talk us through the sections a little bit more? So we have a question, does one need to submit section 1A before going to section 1B, and then the same for section 2A and 2B? I know that we get this question a little bit, so if any clarification you can provide would be very helpful.
Yes, that's correct. So in order to progress to section 1B, you will need to submit section 1A. Once you submit section 1A, you cannot go back. Same with section 1B. Once you submit that, you can no longer go back. You'll be into your 40-minute break. The same also goes for section 2A and 2B. In order to progress to the next section, you need to submit the previous one.
Perfect. And Jenna put up on the screen so everybody can see the schedule of how the exam timing works out, or how the sections work out. So you can see that how each section is laid out. And then, like Eric said, each is independent of each other. Eric, so the only thing we need to bring with us to Prometric are calculators and ID. Can we bring extra batteries?
Yes, so that's a good question. You can bring extra batteries for your calculators. Prometric asks that you bring in the extra batteries loose and unwrapped. So you can actually bring in the extra batteries wrapped up in tissue paper, but please take the extra batteries out of their packaging.
Great. Are candidates allowed to leave the testing center during the 40-minute break? And are they allowed to review their notes during this time?
Yes, so candidates are allowed to leave the test center during the 40-minute break, and you are permitted to access your notes during this time. This is the only time you can access your notes and leave the test center. Any break outside of the 40-minute break in the middle of the exam is considered an unscheduled break. And the clock, you need to be aware, the clock continues to run during those unscheduled breaks. You're only allowed to use the restroom. You're not allowed to access your locker or leave the test center or access notes during the unscheduled breaks. So yes, the 40-minute break is where you can leave the test center. You can access your notes, but you'll have to put them away before you resume the exam.
Great, thank you. If I finish section 1 early, can I take the 40-minute break before the 3-hour mark? And if I complete the section 1 early, can I immediately move on to section 2? So basically, can you speed up the sections of the exam? I think.
Yeah, so if you're progressing through the test more quickly, you can complete the section. And then once you reach the 40-minute break, you don't have to take the full 40-minute break. If you're feeling fresh and you don't need the full 40 minutes, you can start section 2 early. Conversely, if you take longer than the 40-minute break, please note section 2 will automatically start. So please be aware, sometimes people take longer breaks and they realize when they arrive at the workstation that the timer's already started and they've gone into section 2. But if you finish section 1 early, you can certainly start your 40-minute break early. You can also end your 40-minute break early as well.
Eric, that brings up a good point, and I'm glad that you said that. Do individuals have to allocate some time to recheck back in if they leave as part of the 40-minute break?
Yes, so anytime you take a break, please be aware that that's going to be a bottleneck for you potentially returning back to your test, because you'll have to go through the same check-in and procedures as you did when you first got to your workstation. So please allocate that. If you're coming back from your 40-minute break, please make sure you allow for time for check-in back for your workstation.
Does your bachelor degree transcript need to be received by CFP board prior to testing? I can answer this question. The answer is no.
Yeah, the answer is
degree
no.
is not needed for testing. You just need your coursework, the education coursework verified. That's the only requirement to be eligible to sit for the exam.
Yes, that's correct.
Eric, are case studies in all 4 sections?
The answer is no. You can, well, so the longer extended case studies that will have up to 12 questions that are paired up to them, you can encounter between 1 to 2 of those on each test form, but they are not in every section. So once you encounter the big case study, you're likely not to encounter another big one. There's smaller sets that are pairs of items, but they're not going to be the larger sets. And the max that you'll receive on any test form is up to 2.
Is there a way in which we can sample run the software prior to the exam to get accustomed to how to use the highlight feature, strikeout feature, etc., and simply to familiarize? And I think this is, oh, I'm sorry, Eric, you go ahead.
Oh yeah, so the great thing is if you have access to your practice test through CFP board, that uses the same exam software that they use at Prometric. So you'll encounter the same tutorial, it's the same strikeout feature. So we use the same platform on our practice exam as what you do on Prometric. There's also a sample exam that you can link to off the CFP board website. If you don't want to access your practice test yet, you can access a short 10-question sample exam that has the same interface, and it's fully functional as well. You can practice the highlight and the strikeout features.
Awesome. That's what I was going to say too. I think that's, a great opportunity to use the sample exam, that 10-question sample exam, and then use your practice exam. The practice exam is truly a mock exam to get you comfortable with what you're going to see on exam day. Obviously see the types of questions that you'll encounter, but, really help with that exam day experience. Put yourselves in the shoes of what to expect. Eric, it was mentioned not to schedule trips after your exam in the event of the scheduled window being canceled. For what reasons would the exam window be canceled?
Yes, so this is an issue that happens. Of course, everyone wants to take a vacation after you successfully complete a big exam like this as a reward. We caution people not to do that because sometimes unforeseen things happen. Either there could be a mechanical failure in the building, or might be a hurricane coming through, or maybe even a snow closure. So if anything happens where the test center is closed and you're not able to take the exam on your scheduled exam date, we try to get you rescheduled for another appointment within that window. And people with travel constraints aren't able to complete the exam within the same window because if you have a weather closure or a site closure, and then you're no longer available for the remaining window, the exam's only administered during a limited time frame, and it's not going to be available beyond that time frame. So please allow some time before you take a vacation, maybe up to 7 days after the test window, because if anything unforeseen happens, we won't be able to reschedule you beyond a limited time.
Do I need to bring a lock for the locker, or is it secure?
So the answer is no, you do not need to bring a lock for the locker. All the lockers have locks on them, and you'll receive a key from Prometric.
That's a good question. I'm not sure we've had that asked before. Can I bring 2 calculators instead of extra batteries?
Yes, well, you can bring up to 2 calculators and extra batteries. As long as the calculators are on the approved calculator list, you can bring any of those 2 calculators. You can also, if you have a basic function calculator where there's no memory where you can store functions, you can bring in the basic function calculator too to serve as your extra calculator.
And do the calculators, if you do bring in a backup calculator, does it have to be out of its packaging?
Yes, you don't want to have a calculator still in its packaging.
Perfect, thank you. And I think you answered this earlier, Eric, but just to reiterate, can you bring notes into the testing center if they are left in the locker?
Yes, you can lock them up in the locker. You won't be able to access them during the test. The only time you're able to access those notes is during the 40-minute break.
Do you have any recommendations on bringing lunch and keeping it in the locker, leaving the test center? Do you have any sort of even just anecdotal based off what you've heard from other candidates, typically what people do for that 40-minute break?
So we recommend to kind of do a test drive. Go to your center before your test date, so you know the route there. You know what's available near the area if you're planning to leave the test center and grab some food. Sometimes that's not manageable where you are based on the location. So you might want to bring food with you if you need it during the 40-minute break. So please visit the test center, know where it is, know the route to get there, and plan accordingly. If you have enough time to purchase food while you're in the area or bring it yourself, at least you'll be able to plan ahead of time once you know how things are configured.
This is a good question here, Eric. So will the timer on section 1A automatically tap out will the timer on section 1 as a whole automatically tap out after section 1B for the first half? And then the same for part 2. So basically, I think you have 2 3-hour sections. So 3 hours is the most that you get, and it would automatically roll into your 40-minute break?
Yes, that's correct. So sometimes people think that there's an issue when they run out of time. So if you go beyond that 3 hours, the software is automatically going to close that section and move you into the 40-minute break. So please be aware. During our webinar, we showed how there is a toggle timer where it shows your overall test time and your section time. So please be aware of that. Manage your time, because if you do run out of time for section 1A and 1B and you go beyond that 3 hours, the exam will automatically close and you'll be placed into the 40-minute break. Same thing with a 40-minute break. Once that ends, your exam is going to start automatically, whether you're there or not. And same with section 2. After 2A and 2B, if you've gone beyond 3 hours, the exam will automatically close.
Thank you. I think that's helpful to clarify. Will tissues be available if I need them?
You know, that I'm not sure. I believe you're allowed to bring in tissues, but we'll have to connect with Prometric to confirm if they have them available at the test center. To my knowledge, I don't think they have them available there. I think you have to bring your own.
But so if someone brings their own, and you'll confirm this, Eric, if they're allowed to have them at their testing setup?
So they can be brought in loosely. They can't be in the packaging, and Prometric's going to inspect them.
Okay,
so
perfect.
they'll inspect them before you bring them into the test center.
So probably good recommendation is bring your own tissues, have them loose. Prometric will inspect them, but you can have them at your testing site.
Yes, that's correct.
Perfect. Are there how are the questions numbered, or how are the answer choices numbered? Are they Roman numeral style, or is it like A, B, C? Can you give some clarity there?
Right. So this kind of question, the questions are the ordinal or the organization for it is A, B, and C and D. Now the Roman numeral question pops up because sometimes there's what we call a multiple select, where there'll be Roman numerals, and each A, B, C, or D option might have 1, 2, and 3, 3, and Roman numeral 4 only. Those types of questions aren't on the exam. It's only going to be A, B, C, or D questions.
Great. So the sample exam, the 10-question sample exam, are the questions the same each time?
Yes, the questions are the same each time for the 10-question sample exam.
Perfect. This is also a good question, Eric. Each section is 180 minutes, so the 3 hours. If I finish subsection 1A in 80 minutes, does that mean I will have 100 minutes for subsection 1B? I think just a little clarity on how the subsections of each section are timed out, or maybe self-timed,
Yes,
would be helpful.
So to be clear, you have 180 minutes for section 1A and 1B. The section only times out at the end of 180 minutes. So if you take 80 minutes for section 1A, yes, that leaves you 100 minutes for section 1B.
And people have to self-manage their time between section 1A and 1B. The 180 minutes is not broken down any further into each subsection, correct?
Yes, that's correct. So you don't want to run out of time by taking too much time in the first section. So you have to manage that full 3 hours.
Perfect. Is there still time for the November exam to request special accommodations?
You know what? Let me pass that on to Jenna. Jenna, do you have the dates for the test accommodations?
Yes, there's still time. You should submit that by September 27th for the November exam.
Perfect. And the form to do that is on cfp.net. I don't have the link handy, but if you have any questions, there's an email address right here on your screen, examinations@cfpboard.org. Email that email address, and Jenna, James, or Eric can definitely help you out, direct you to the form that you need if you are looking to request a testing accommodation. Eric, can you repeat the T+1 or T+2 answer?
Yes, so we will be using the new rule, and we will not use the old rule for the exam.
I understand Prometric has headphones. Oh, Prometric headphones can get uncomfortable during such a long exam. Are we allowed to bring in our own foam earplugs as an alternative?
No, you're not allowed to bring your own. Prometric does have foam earplugs as well at their test center, and they make them available to candidates.
Perfect, but it has to be provided by the Prometric Center.
Yes.
Great. Jenna, can you go back one slide to the reference list? We have a question about where to find the approved calculator list on our website. It's that second link in the first column, cfp.net/calculator policy. Eric, a question on water bottles. Does the water bottle need to be plastic, or can we bring in our own metal bottle?
The water bottle needs to be plastic, and they'll ask you to remove the label before going into your test center.
Perfect, thank you. This is a good question here, and I think a really good reminder on what the testing agreement is that you sign when you register for the exam. But Eric, can you go over, kind of what limits there are to candidates on what they can talk about after taking the exam?
Yes. So, and I just answered this on the Q&A. We do limit what you're allowed to talk about in terms of what you encounter on the exam. Please remember that when you registered for the exam, you agreed to the Pathway to Certification Agreement. And this bars individuals from discussing what you encounter on the exam. And the reason why we do this is because anyone with an unfair advantage or prior knowledge of what's on the exam is going to skew the results. So if they are potentially a borderline candidate that might not pass the exam with prior information and you have an unfair advantage, that can skew you towards passing. So it's something that we want to avoid. It is a violation of our Pathway to Certification Agreement. And if people are caught sharing information of what they found on the exam, we do pursue the actions of having the results suspended and people barred from pursuing the certification. So please refrain from sharing any information about what's on the exam. It's strictly prohibited by that Pathway to Certification Agreement.
Perfect. Thank you, Eric. I think that was a good reminder for everyone. Just one, I think this is the last question on the timing aspect of things that I see, but for section 2, and this goes back to the timer that you were talking about, but do candidates need to leave 3 minutes on the clock in section 2 because that's when the survey will start?
So yes, so be aware of your section timer because the total time includes the survey. So when you see that total exam time remaining, the last 3 minutes of that total exam time remaining is for the survey. So keep in mind your section time.
Perfect, thank you. Jenna, can you go back to that reference sheet again? Yeah, perfect. So I have a question about how to find the 10 question sample exam. It is the 4th link down on the first column, cfp.net/sample exam. That should get you there.
Please note, just for our keeping the house clean, we will be posting this recorded webinar online in about a week after concluding today. It's going to be also posted on our YouTube page, so please keep an eye out for that. And we should have these references linked to that site where we're posting the video for the What to Expect webinar.
Looks like we have a handful more questions here, Eric. Do we have to request the noise canceling headphones ahead of time as part of an accommodation, or is that an automatically available feature?
No, the noise canceling headphones, you do not have to request ahead of time as an accommodation. That is something that's provided to test takers as a resource.
Perfect. Can you also just confirm how many questions are in each 180-minute section?
Sure. So there are 85 questions in each 3-hour section. So it's a total of 170 questions.
Perfect. I see a couple of questions on how to access the mentor program. If you go to cfp.net/mentor, you can get to the mentor program webpage on cfp.net. Again, cfp.net/mentor. And then you can follow the instructions there on requesting your mentor and how to do that. And Eric, where do we get the 8-character key code for the sample exam? I think you can just click enter.
So you can just click enter. That 8-character key code should pre-fill, and you just click enter, and it will open up the exam.
Perfect. For any accommodations questions, please email examinations@cfpboard.org, and the team can definitely help you out. Eric, anything else on your end that you see? I might be missing some, but is anything else on your end that you see that would be good to answer before we head off today?
No, I think we covered most of the questions. Again, if you have any pending questions that we didn't answer today, please reach out to examinations@cfpboard.org. Jenna, James, and I will be able to assist you with any of your inquiries or provide you any resources that you need, whether it's where to locate the practice exam or next steps for requesting a test accommodation. So with that, Amanda, thank you everyone for your time today. IB, Jenna, James, Amanda. It's been great connecting with everyone via this webinar. And that concludes our webinar for today. Thank you.